It began not with thunder, nor with the roar of catastrophe, but with silence. A silence so complete, it rang louder than sirens. The earth had begun to shed its skin. Oceans no longer obeyed the pull of the moon. Time itself seemed to fray at the edges, like an old photograph left too long in the sun. And in the coastal ruin of Port Sindra, beneath skies bruised in violet and copper, Lucas Ramirez wandered the bones of a dying world. He had once been an oceanographer, a man of instruments, charts, probabilities. But that life belonged to a different earth, the one that hadn't turned its tides into whispers. Today, he searched not for logic, but for something felt, something long buried beneath rationality. The radio strapped to his shoulder crackled with static. He walked alone across the wreckage-strewn bay, boots squelching in silt and seaweed. Then, the impossible occurred. The tide withdrew, not in violence, not with haste, but with an eerie grace. Like a curtain drawn back by invisible hands. Meters of sea pulled away from the coastline, revealing drowned roads, half-swallowed towers, and the carcasses of ships stranded like beached leviathans. At the very center of that revelation, she appeared. She did not emerge. She was revealed, as though the sea itself had kept her hidden, and only now chose to offer her to the world. She stood barefoot upon glistening coral. Her skin shimmered with bioluminescent hues, sapphiric blue, emerald green, shifting subtly as if emotions danced just beneath the surface. Her hair, if it could be called that, moved like liquid smoke, whispering and curling about her in elegant defiance of gravity. And her eyes, stars. Not a metaphor, not poetry. Stars. Lucas froze. She raised her hand, and without a word, without sound, he felt her. A wave of memory, not his own, washed through him. Visions poured in. Crystalline cities floating above oceans that sang. Suns colliding in graceful death. Two hands reaching across millennia to touch. And then a name echoed within him. Not spoken aloud. Felt. Sarai. He dropped to his knees. In that singular moment, as the world around them trembled and the heavens wept auroras of green flame, Lucas Ramirez understood something terrible and beautiful. This was not their first meeting. She had waited for him. Through lifetimes. The silence that followed their meeting was not empty. It was full, brimming with unsaid things, ancient echoes, and the hum of reality bending at its seams. Lucas knelt in the soaked sands, waves curling like ribbons around his ankles, yet he felt none of it. His senses had been taken, not stolen, but willingly surrendered, to the presence of the woman before him. Sarai. She stood as though gravity had forgotten her. The air shimmered where she breathed, and with every passing second, Lucas became increasingly unsure whether she was made of flesh and blood, or starlight and longing. Then, she stepped forward. With that simple movement, the ground beneath her illuminated, not with sunlight, but with glyphs. Strange, fluid symbols etched in living light, spreading outward like ripples in still water. Lucas gasped. He knew those symbols. He could not read them, yet some part of him recognized them. Deep in the marrow of his bones, in dreams he'd never dared speak aloud. She reached toward him, not a gesture of command, but of invitation. "You are unmoored," the voice inside his head said. It was hers, unmistakably so, floating between what was and what must be. Lucas shook his head, overwhelmed. "I don't understand." She tilted her head, a cascade of silver-blue light falling across her shoulder. "You will." And with those two words, her fingers met his brow. The flood came, not of water, but of memory. Flashes of a world not Earth, a realm of oceans that hung suspended in the sky, of moon bridges that sang, of people who wept crystal tears into chalices of fate. He saw himself, or someone who wore his face, standing in a great chamber of liquid mirrors, hand in hand with her. They were surrounded by the Iltharkai, beings of light and emotion, their forms as fluid as tides. He was a guest, a foreigner, yet beloved. You are the map of the last light. The voice again, Sarai's, but now echoing across time. Lucas clutched his head as the vision spiraled, and the sky above Port Sindra darkened with a low, groaning tremor. He gasped aloud as the memory receded, leaving him breathless. I was there, he whispered. With you. She nodded. Her eyes shimmered with mourning. We loved once, before the collapse. You chose to forget, to be reborn here, to become human, where the last key could not be found by the others. Others? He asked. A gust of wind tore through the broken harbor. Far in the distance, a great black spire of cloud touched the sea. Unnatural, curling, almost sentient. She turned toward it. Her voice dimmed. They are coming. They have already begun. And if we do not awaken what remains, all light will be consumed. Lucas stood slowly, trembling. What must I do? She turned back to him, and for the first time, he saw something behind her celestial calm, fear. You must remember everything, before the tide turns. Night descended, but it brought no darkness. Instead, the sky above Port Sindra shimmered with unnatural light. A vast aurora of greens, blues, and ghostly white, stretching like a wounded veil across the heavens. The stars beyond it flickered like dying embers. Lucas followed Sarai inland, away from the exposed seabed, into the skeletal remains of what had once been the town's observatory. The dome, fractured and crumbling, stood defiantly against the wind. Its glass panels, though shattered, still held the scent of old books, rusted metal, and burnt ozone. She entered silently, her feet never quite touching the ground. And yet, the room responded to her, every metal instrument gently humming, dust swirling upward, light filtering through cracks as if afraid to disturb her. Lucas stepped inside, and the door behind them creaked shut on its own. He looked at her, and spoke, truly, for the first time. You said I chose to forget, that I lived before, as someone else. Why? Sarai placed her hand upon a rusted control panel. The entire wall shimmered, turning into a fluid mirror. Reflections rippled, not of the present, but of other times, other selves. Lucas saw versions of himself dressed in garb that did not exist, walking alien cities, flying vessels shaped like manta rays of light. Because to carry the map is to carry the burden. The memory, the pain. You asked to be made human, so your light would not be found by them. Lucas took a step back. Them. She nodded. Her skin dimmed to a mournful grey blue. The hollowed, born from dead stars. Eaters of time. They once hunted us. They turned the oceans of our world into glass. And they will come here. A tremor ran through Lucas's chest. Not fear. Something deeper. He pulled back the sleeve of his shirt, and for the first time noticed something impossible. Faint lines beneath his skin, like the roots of a tree, glowing faintly. Cyan. Alive. What is this? Sarai approached. She reached out, brushing 2 fingers over his arm. A pulse surged through him, and the lines flared brightly. The echo map, embedded in your cells. A living constellation. It can guide us to the beacon. Lucas staggered. What beacon? She looked up. For the first time, her expression broke, and he saw raw hope. The one thing that can reignite the Luarquántica. The final light of my kind. Lightning cracked the sky above. The wind howled through broken glass. And far on the horizon, something stirred. A black spiral of storm clouds began to move, not with wind, but intent. As though some colossal will had awoken, and had seen them. Lucas turned back to her. I'm not who I was. I'm not ready. She took his hands. Her touch was warm. You don't need to be ready, Lucas. You only need to remember, and trust me. Beneath the crumbling observatory lay a hidden stairwell, long sealed, covered in coral stone and entwined with metal roots that pulsed like arteries. Sarai found the entrance with ease, her fingers brushing along air as if reading the vibrations of forgotten things. Lucas hesitated at the threshold. The air was thick, not with dust, but with memory. It pressed on his chest like deep water. "This place is not human," he whispered. Sarai, descending first, turned her gaze up to him. "Neither are you." They spiraled downward, torches of bioluminescent moss lighting as Sarai passed. The walls were not carved, they were grown, made from a living mineral that shimmered when touched. Symbols pulsed faintly, matching the glow in Lucas's veins. As they reached the bottom, the corridor opened into an immense subterranean chamber. Lucas gasped. It was a cathedral of light and stone, carved into the very crust of the earth. A vault older than any civilization, pulsing with a soft, rhythmic beat. Great spires rose from a pool of liquid crystal at the center. Floating above that pool, a sphere, spinning slowly, projecting images of stars long dead, systems erased from time. "The beacon," Sarai said, voice barely more than breath. She approached it reverently. Lucas followed, unable to pull his eyes away. "This is the last shard of the Luarquántica, a fragment of our song. It can summon the tide, turn it back, if awakened." Lucas felt the pull. His body moved on its own. His hand extended, and as his fingers touched the sphere, light burst through the chamber like a sunrise under the sea. Suddenly, his mind flooded with music, not sound, but feeling. Notes made of color and sorrow. The history of Sarai's people unfolded in a heartbeat. Their rise, their love of oceans and harmony, their fall beneath the hollowed's hunger. And then, the memory of himself, standing beside Sarai in another life, promising to return, promising to carry the last key. He had kept that promise. By being reborn, by becoming human. The sphere responded. Glyphs in the chamber lit like fireflies. The pool beneath them shimmered, and far above, deep within the crust, seismic pulses began to echo. Sarai turned to him, and she was crying. Tears like melted moonlight. "It remembers you. Lucas, you've begun the awakening." But then, the light flickered. A sharp noise, like metal shrieking through flesh, cut through the air. From the shadowed arches of the chamber, something moved. A shape of black fog and fractured bone. A ripple in space, wearing the semblance of form. The first of the hollowed had arrived. "They found us," Sarai whispered. Lucas took her hand, pulling her close. "Then let them come. We've only just begun." The creature that stepped through the arch was wrong. Not merely monstrous, but an affront to form itself. Its body shimmered between states, bone to mist, shadow to machine. No edges, no beginning, only a gaping absence where meaning should be. The hollowed. It had no face, only a wound, pulsing, hungering, where a soul might have been. Lucas's breath caught. His body screamed to flee, but Sarai stood firm. "They cannot feel, only consume. Do not give it fear, it feeds on that." The hollowed uttered no cry. It vibrated, and the chamber's walls wept rivulets of shadow. Light dimmed, glyphs cracked. The beacon flickered. Lucas grabbed Sarai's arm. "We can't fight that." "No," she whispered, "but we can buy time." She turned toward the central pool, the crystal sea, and plunged her hand into the liquid. The entire room shifted. A sudden tremor cracked the floor beneath them, and spiraling stairs descended into the pool, now revealed as a gate, a passage into deeper ruins. "Follow me." They fled. Behind them, the hollowed gave chase, but not with speed. It spread. Like ink dropped into clear water, it seeped through walls, floor, thought. As they raced down the submerged stairs, Lucas's veins burned, the echo map inside him reacting to proximity. The stairs ended in a tunnel of translucent crystal, flooded ankle deep. Symbols along the walls flared with their steps. "Where does this go?" he asked, panting. "To the Heart Sea, the Song Forge, where your map will awaken completely." Suddenly, a shudder. The water rose rapidly. Behind them, the hollowed was melting the tunnel itself. A tendril of black shot forward, slashing across Lucas's shoulder. He cried out, falling. The wound sizzled, not with pain, but with memory. Fragments of lives not his flashed again. A ship breaking apart in a violet sun. Sarai screaming his name, the sky bleeding. She knelt beside him. "Lucas, look at me." He did. And there, in that single look, time folded. She kissed him. It wasn't a desperate kiss. It wasn't frantic. It was full, deep, as if spoken in a language older than physics. A kiss that lit his spine with stars. And then, the water around them exploded in light. From Lucas's chest, the map surged outward. Glyphs tore into being midair. The hollowed reeled, recoiling as though burned. Sarai pulled him to his feet. "It's waking now. We're nearly there." They turned and ran as the tunnel collapsed behind them, crystals shattering into waves of antlight, chasing them toward the glowing mouth of the Heart Sea. They emerged into a chamber unlike any Lucas had seen, in this life or others. The Heart Sea was not made of stone or metal, but of sound. The walls pulsed with rhythm, alive with the harmonic resonance of eons. Vast, circular waves of floating crystal plates hovered in spirals above a lake so still it mirrored not their bodies, but their souls. The water shimmered with colors that did not belong to any spectrum known to Earth. Hues made of feeling, of loss, hope, and remembrance. Sarai exhaled sharply. Her skin glowed silver, trembling. "We have arrived." Lucas, still holding his bleeding shoulder, stepped cautiously onto the nearest platform. The crystal recognized him, lit beneath his feet, and began to sing. A chorus of deep, echoing notes rose, not from the water, but from within him. "What is this place?" he asked, breathless. Sarai turned to face him, her expression more solemn than he'd ever seen. "This is where my kind are born, and where we return when our form can no longer hold. It is our cradle and our crucible." She stepped into the lake, which parted without a ripple. Her hair floated outward like a solar flare, eyes glowing like moons eclipsed. "And now, I must offer it my memory." Lucas froze. "Wait, what does that mean?" "The Heart Sea must judge us. You and I. It must decide if the union we seek, the merging of your human form and your true starborn self, is worthy. If we fail, we are both lost." Without waiting, she turned and began to sing. Not with her mouth, but with her being. The chamber darkened as her essence flowed into the lake. Glyphs burst into the air. The water turned crimson gold. Lucas felt it, his body reacting involuntarily. The echo map within him rose. Lines across his skin lit like constellations coming into focus. And then he too was pulled. He fell forward, not into water, but into memory. He stood again as the other him. Not Lucas, but Calthiran, the Kira-memberer, a being of thought and ocean. He looked upon Sarai, as she had once been, young, luminous, untouched by war. He remembered the day he'd promised to scatter his light across the stars to hide the map. He remembered the parting, the kiss, the dying. Then, light fractured. Lucas gasped, chest heaving, soaked in sweat, kneeling on the crystal platform once more. The lake was now silent. Sarai stood within it, her body dissolving into strands of starlight. "The Heart Sea has seen us," she whispered, her voice fading. "It has chosen." A pulse erupted from the lake and surged into Lucas's chest. He screamed, and then he rose, not as just a man, but as Kallukan, the fusion of what was and what is. The map awakened fully. The beacon shone far above them, and across the surface of Earth, in places hidden and sacred, light returned. Above ground, the world had changed. From the shattered coasts of Japan to the flooded valleys of Norway, towers of ancient design had erupted through ocean and stone. Artifacts of the Luarquántica, long dormant, now singing once more through the ether. The sky above Earth split with spectral auroras, glistening veins of color pouring across clouds like spilled dreams. People stared skyward, and for the first time in generations, they felt watched, not by gods, but by memory. In Port Sindra, the beacon pulsed like a living star. At its heart stood Lucas, no longer wholly human. His skin shimmered with constellations, his voice carried the weight of cosmic age. But within him, something fragile still burned, the fear of losing her. Sarai had not vanished, not truly, but her form was no longer physical. She existed now within him, a consciousness threaded into the echo map, her thoughts like whispers on a warm wind. He could feel her heartbeat like waves against his ribs, her emotions blooming and dimming like tidal light. Lucas, her voice echoed within, "You are now my vessel, but we are not yet whole. The ritual of fusion must be completed atop the star spire." Lucas gazed northward, where the star spire rose, a jagged obsidian mountain thrust through ocean and city alike, glowing faintly with the fire of ancient suns. But time was not his ally. From the eastern skies, clouds tore open, not with rain, but with darkness. A fleet of hollowed constructs descended, shaped like bleeding moons, shrieking as they tore the air. The hunt had begun. Lucas ran. Not alone. People emerged from hiding, drawn to him, sensing his glow, sensing her within him. Some remembered. Others simply followed the warmth. Humanity had begun to stir. Yet the hollowed were relentless. At the edge of the Black Valley, Lucas fought alongside Sarai's lingering light, not with weapons, but with the power of memory. When he remembered, glyphs burst from the ground, shielding the weak. When he felt, they lit the skies. And when he spoke, even the hollowed flinched. He was no longer just Lucas. He was the last bridge. At night, beneath a rain of stars, he collapsed beside a fire. And she came to him, not as a figure, but as a presence. "You are changing," she said gently. "Am I still me?" "Yes," she replied, "and more." "Do you still feel what we had?" he asked, his voice fragile. She did not answer with words. She wrapped around his mind, a soft cascade of sensation. The first time she'd seen him, the ache of separation, the joy of reunion, the slow, unbearable desire to hold him in this life once more. Tears slipped down his cheek, and then the ground trembled. The sky screamed. The final storm was upon them. "To the spire, Lucas," she said. "Our fate awaits." Lucas, bearing Sarai within his soul, stands at the base of the star spire. Its obsidian crags glow with the hum of resurrection, ancient circuits of alien light pulsing in time with the beacon below. He climbs. Each step is agony. Hollowed sentinels surge from the cliffs, formless shadows born of dead stars, seeking to tear him apart. But with every surge of memory, glyphs flare beneath his feet, crystalline shields rising, repelling the dark. Above, Sarai's voice calls inside him, guiding his stride, igniting hope in his chest like living flame. The air grows thinner, gravity falters, but also, Lucas feels more whole, his human flesh strengthened by her star-born light. At the summit stands the fusion altar, a crystalline dais etched with swirling runes, awaiting the final bond. Hovering above it, the combined power of human and Luarquántica essence. Lucas steps forward. The hollowed generals converge. Titanic, jagged forms of obsidian and shadow, their wails reshaping the sky. But Lucas steps onto the dais. He closes his eyes. Sarai's consciousness surges, warm, fierce, fearless. He speaks the words of the ritual, a song of 2 lifetimes, of oceans and constellations, of promises forged between stars. Light explodes. A storm of light and memory sweeps the world. The beacon blazes brighter than any star, its song tearing through the hollowed. The generals shriek, shrivel, then shatter in waves of anti-light. At the summit, Lucas and Sarai complete their union. Flesh and starlight meld, forming a new being, Lucan Sarai, a bridge between species, the guardian reborn. Time fractures, memories flow freely. Pain and hope, loss and desire become one tapestry shining across the heavens. Earth responds, seas calm, skies clear, auroras settle into gentle twilight. Humanity witnesses, awe, relief, tears of memory. In the aftermath, the world breathes again. Under a sky rippled with violet dawn, Lucas Sarai stands upon the Starspire's peak. Beside him stream survivors, refugees, scientists, sightseers, all drawn to the new cosmic beacon. He speaks, not with words, but with resonant song, the language of Luarquántica now infused in human souls. Each heart remembers something lost: compassion, unity, wonder. The beacon's pulse spreads outward. Dormant Iltharkai artifacts activate. Floating shrines, crystalline towers, sky veins of aquatic resonance. The planet itself breathes anew, and love, ancient, forbidden, transcendent, awakens in the hearts of two species, forging bonds once unthinkable. Years pass. Oceans shimmer under alien moons. Cities rise amid marine gardens. Human and Iltharkai cultures interweave, music, art, science, joining Earth and Etherian Prime. But atop every horizon, the Starspire still glows, a testament to what was sacrificed, what was remembered, and what was born anew. And when night falls, one may glimpse a figure standing at the summit, a human aspect, a star aspect, singing to the stars, summoning the tides and memories, assuring all who gaze that the light endures.